Back on the Inside Scoop, we have the GOAT himself. Gary Ferman of CaneSport is joining the Inside Scoop to talk, guess what? 5-star quarterback Kormani McClain. Gary, let me quickly...
Do we have to?
Oh, yeah.
Do we have to?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's why you're here. That's why I brought you on. But I know you're going to try to wiggle out of it, but let me just reset what's going on. So 5-star cornerback, the #1 quarterback in America, Kormani McClain, commits to Miami in October. Doesn't really say anything. There's no uprising. There's nothing going sideways until signing day. The early signing day comes. His mother tweets out in the morning that he will not be signing at his Lakeland ceremony that was expected to occur on Wednesday. He declined to sign through Wednesday to Friday. That's when the early signing period window ends. But Kormani McClain did show up at Under Armour practice. And from here, it's probably, Gary, it's probably easier to talk about what Kormani McClain did not do. He did not speak to the media. He did not clarify his situation. He has not signed with the Canes yet. So, Gary, to you, what is the latest with 5-star cornerback Kormani McClain?
Well, I mean, I think the latest from the Miami standpoint would be Miami's probably trying to hang in there and battle it out to the end. Mario Cristobal doesn't do this any other way in recruiting. It's not his first rodeo. For us, in covering Miami recruiting, the warning signs were all over the place in the weeks leading up to signing day. Well, for starters, we sent one of our writers, Azubi Charles, on a 4-hour road trip up to Lakeland after Kormani McClain committed to blow up Kormani McClain and promote him, help develop his name, image, likeness with interviews and videos.
Yeah, do a feature
and
on
him. Let everybody get to know him in many different ways. And basically, Azubi goes to Lakeland. He gets permission from the coach to come out to practice. Practice ends. Azubi's there to start doing the interviews. And Kormani is standing face to face with him and says, "I'm not talking to you. I've been told not to talk to anybody." Now, Josh, you've been doing this a long time. We've been doing this a long time. Whenever something like that happens, it never ends well. Okay, I can't think of too many situations in covering recruiting over the last 3-4 decades where a situation where a kid at his moment of euphoria, he has just committed to the school of his choice. He is fulfilling his dreams, Josh, but he doesn't want to talk to anybody. That was a major. Yes, that was a major warning sign for us. So that was the first warning sign. Then Sam Spiegelman, one of our recruiting analysts at On3, had a source that undeniably told him in the days leading up to National Signing Day that there is no way that Kormani McClain is going to sign with Miami. And
Sam caught a lot of heat for that.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. But our radar was up big time signing day morning. And then the show began, Josh. And, I'm sure your viewers know all about it. Mom sends out a tweet saying, it's not going to happen that day. The cake is on the table at Lakeland. Everybody had fun ripping up the cake when Kormani didn't show up for the signing. So the question now, I'm sure, is what happens next? And I can't imagine, after the effort that Miami put in, not just on signing day, but those 2 days after signing day, to get him to actually sign and have a signature not take place. It's hard for me to imagine that come here in late January, February, that situation is suddenly going to change and he is going to sign with Miami. If he was going to sign with Miami, wouldn't he have already done it already? But I know Miami's trying to hang in there. They will battle it out to the end. And from there, we'll see what happens.
All right, so let's dispel a rumor real quick. A lot of people talking grades. Gary, explain why grades don't matter in this situation.
Because if you have grade problems, it doesn't stop you from signing. You sign your letter of intent. You work on your grade problems moving forward. If you can become eligible by the summertime, you go to the school of your choice. A lot of kids have grade problems.
We've been seeing this take place for the last 30 years. You can sign with a program in December or February, and you can take your ACTs, SATs clear through the summer trying to get a qualifying grade, but it doesn't prevent you from signing. So I see a lot of people bring it up. Oh, well, Kormani doesn't have the grades yet, so it's simple. That's why he didn't sign with Miami, but that's not true.
No, and I don't think it's NIL related either. I mean, Miami's always in a very good position in the NIL stratosphere. I haven't seen NIL be the reason why they've lost the recruit yet. So I don't think it's NIL related either. I think that this is another school or multiple schools that were able to do something, whatever that might be, to hold off this signing on signing day and get themselves more solidified in the picture. And I think that if you read the tea leaves into that, it would be that he would probably end up at one of those schools. But
what schools do you think have his ear right now? Besides,
I think Alabama. Alabama, very much so, is working that situation very hard. We've seen the stories out of Orlando at Under Armour game. Every Alabama commit there is working very hard on Kormani McClain. I think there's credence to the Colorado rumors. This is the type of impact that Deion Sanders would like to make. And, some people say Colorado, they don't have the NIL budget at Colorado to compete for Kormani McClain. I would disagree with that just because they may not have the NIL budget right now to run an NIL program like you're seeing, say, at a Miami, for example. But I think they could come up with the NIL budget to target a couple players. And I think this is the type of splash that Deion Sanders would like to make. I don't know that Colorado, as a destination for a kid like Kormani McClain that could go to Miami, Florida, Alabama, I don't know where Colorado fits in that equation, but we've seen Deion pull this off before.
We saw Deion Sanders do it last year. Gary pulled the #1 corner in America, Travis Hunter. So he's going to try, obviously, to pull the #1 corner in America 2 years in a row. Like you said, maybe Colorado goes all in with their NIL. I don't think on the surface Colorado can compete with Miami when it comes to NIL opportunities, unless, like you say, this is just a one-off where, hey, maybe we need to get things rolling here and go all in on Kormani McClain. It's possible.
They have enterprise. They have enterprise in Colorado too, Josh. I mean, there's businesses all over the state of Colorado that, if they want to participate with the University of Colorado in NIL, can find the necessary dollars in their marketing budgets to do a deal with somebody like Kormani McClain. So if it, like I said, I don't think you're going to see 50 kids at Colorado with good NIL deals like you might at Miami. But I do think if they want to be a player and compete in this regard, that they can do it.
So besides throwing up the U, Kormani McClain has not really clarified anything. Well, I take that back. On day one of Under Armour practice, there was a video that went up of him getting burned. And I don't put too much stock into all elite players going 75% in taking frame by frame of what happened and making an indictment on a player. It's nonsense. But nonetheless, there was a lot of hubbub over the weekend of Kormani getting burnt in these one-on-ones. The following day, he's not participating in one-on-ones at Under Armour practice. Well, Kormani takes to Twitter as soon as practice is over to clarify. Guess what? He wants to clarify things. And Kormani McClain explains that he has a shoulder injury that kept him out of practice in day 2. Now, Kormani clarified his status on the field, but he has chosen not to clarify whatsoever his status of his commitment. Did you guys try to talk to him at Under Armour practices?
No, we left the Under Armour practices after the first day, Josh. I mean, there was he was the one that we were most interested in, and he wasn't talking.
He's just not talking at all.
We spoke to Nicholas Harbor, who's another kid that we're interested in. So we left. We have a lot of other pressing matters down here in South Florida.
Let's wrap up the Kormani McClain talk. How do you think the month of January plays out? Do we think that Kormani's going on visit after visit, or is it going to be more of nothing heading into the February 1st signing day? I can't even imagine what this month's going to look like for him.
I think it's going to be, I would think it's going to be a lot of nothing. I mean, hasn't he already been everywhere other than I don't know if he's ever set foot
Well,
in
he's only
Colorado,
taken
maybe.
one official visit. Yes, he's been to Alabama, he's been to Florida, he's been to Miami, he's been everywhere. But he's only taken one official visit. So he has 4 more at his disposal if he wants to use them in January. That's why I say, like, he could make it all around, but by what we've seen so far, Kormani doesn't say or do much at all, which leads only to more speculation.
Yeah, I mean, we'd be guessing. Maybe he does take a few trips. I mean, I don't know that he's been to Colorado yet. If they're a serious player, he might take a trip there for sure. With all these guys at Under Armour hitting them up for Alabama, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he showed up at Tuscaloosa one of these weekends. But Josh, I mean, it's everything's guesswork right now with him, and he's not handling it as well as a lot of us would like to see him handle it in terms of his dealings with media and talking to people and just explaining what's going on. So I think we're going to be in wait and see mode on this one for most of the month.
We're going to keep covering this thing. So you guys don't forget to like and subscribe to the On3 YouTube page. We are here, myself, JD Piquel. Every day there's a ton of content on the On3 YouTube channel. Smash that subscribe button for me. Gary, Miami's class is sitting at number 4 overall in the On3 rankings. Who in this class do you think is going to contribute early for the Canes?
I think a lot of them are going to contribute early. You look at Miami on the field this year, Josh, and it was pretty obvious there's a lot of issues there. And I think this is the recruiting class that's going to be looked at as the foundation to start changing that. And you start on the offensive line, Francis Magoa, Samson Okinola, the 2 tackles. They are going to get every chance to be starters in 2023. There's no question about that. At all. I mean, as you go down the class, I think you're going to see Malik Bryant get a great opportunity to play quite a bit. I look at the cornerback, Robert Stafford, who I think is a very underappreciated player. I think he's going to get a great chance to play very early in his career. Nathaniel Joseph, the wide receiver, is unquestionably, in my mind, going to be a big part of the Miami offense next year. Popo Aguirre, another linebacker, I think you're going to see get a chance to play certainly special teams, if not defense as well. Miami needs a lot of help at linebacker. I think Robbie Washington, if he shows up as dynamic as I think he will get an opportunity like Ray Joseph to be a big part of the Miami offense. Damari Brown at cornerback unquestionably is going to get a chance to play very early. Mark Fletcher at running back is going to get a chance to play very early. I think Christopher Johnson, with his speed, unquestionably will have a specialist type of role in the offense next year. I think those are the main guys. Another guy that I really like is Marcellus Pulliam. I think he's another very underappreciated linebacker, and with the help that Miami needs at that position, I think he is going to also get some opportunities to play very early in his Miami career. So, that's a lot of them right there, Josh.
This 23 class better bring their lunch pail. They better come ready to work because these guys are going to be counted on. And, hey, let's not forget Reuben Bain out of Miami Central. He's out there crushing it at the Under Armour game right now. He could also come in. The only reason
I didn't bring Reuben up is because, I think Miami's got some pretty good defensive ends coming back that are a year ahead of him. And I'm expecting Reuben, and maybe I'll end up being wrong on this. I think he might need a year of development. It's very hard to walk into college football, and he's a little undersized as a defensive lineman. I think he's going to need some time in the strength program, year in the nutritional program, just to build his body and get his body ready for college football. I obviously think that Reuben Bain is going to be a very, very important piece for Miami. I'm just not sure it's going to be in 2023.
Yeah, I'm excited about him whenever he steps on the field. Big-time playmaker out of Miami Central. Gary, the 24 class. I know we're early on it. The Canes are ranked in the 50s. That doesn't matter. They're going to be a top 10 contender. But do you think Miami recruiting now raises the standard each year? Is a top 5 class now expected due to John Ruiz and Miami's just unbelievable NIL opportunities that they have down there?
Well, I think even beyond NIL, you're looking at a head coach of Mario Cristobal that's proven that he can recruit on a national level. His last class at Oregon had the top player in 9 different states. And I see recruiting at Miami in 2024 going in that direction a little bit. But I don't think that the state of Florida, and South Florida in particular, is as deep in 2024. And I think Miami's going to have to, go outside the area a little more to do a lot of their recruiting this year. And Mario's very good at that. He's proven in that regard. So will they be a top 5 class? I don't know that there's going to be a ton of layups here that might lend itself to doing the top 5 thing, at least early in the game.
Mm-hmm.
But I think by the end of the day, when they get a chance to do their recruiting over the complete cycle, they will identify the talent where they have a chance to compete. And nobody competes in recruiting better than Mario Cristobal. And that's before you get to the 2023 NIL Online Man of the Year in John Ruiz. I got a kick out of that we ended up picking him as the top influencer.
Hey, there was nobody more impactful, in my opinion, in the NIL space in this cycle than John Ruiz. I mean, nobody.
Absolutely not.
So you expect this to continue into the 2024 class fully?
Oh, there is no question about it. I've discussed this with him. He is loving every second of what NIL is doing for him and what he thinks it's going to do for his company. Listen, before he started this, John Ruiz was just another guy in South Florida, if you believe it or not. There's a lot of rich people in South Florida. And, this has totally put him on the map in the community here in the southern part of the state of Florida, as well as nationally. I mean, you're talking about him like a household name now in Nashville. I mean, and he bought all this for $10 million. Now, if you're really a guy that's worth $25 billion, and you could spend $10 million and make your name a household name all across America, and in the community that you live in, where now everywhere you go, you are John Ruiz, the guy, the NIL god who's doing so much for the Miami football program. That's a bargain in itself, Josh. $10 million to buy that type of image and status. People would spend far more than $10 million for that.
Canes fans got to love to hear that. It's not their money that they're spending. So, hey, more power to John Ruiz. Gary Ferman, thanks for joining the Inside Scoop. Really interesting stuff. We're going to continue to follow Kormani McClain's recruitment. We're going to continue to follow what the Canes are doing. Thank you for joining the Inside Scoop.
Oh, anytime, Josh. And yeah, you made one great point. There's no $10 donations taking place down here in South Florida right now. John Ruiz has the NIL world covered, but they do have a collective that I think is building momentum. So we'll see what happens in 2024.
Awesome. Thank you, Gary. See you soon.
Always a pleasure, Josh.